Well, good day. This is Frank Painter. This afternoon, or today, I'm going to be talking about clinical engineering education at the graduate level. And I've been in, I'm nearly retired. I've been in the field of clinical engineering for over 40 years. I've directed in-house programs and regional independent service organizations. But the last 20 years, I've been the program director for the clinical engineer, or the biomedical engineering graduate program at the University of Connecticut, which teaches clinical engineering. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. And I've been very active in professional organizations my whole career. So I'm speaking about this clinical engineering graduate program. We start from the basis of the ACCE definition of a clinical engineer. As a professional who supports and advances patient care by applying engineering and managerial skills to healthcare. And in particular, we're talking about someone who works in the hospital. I know that many academic programs have sort of defined clinical engineering as something else, maybe involving equipment design, maybe involving clinical practices that the manufacturer might need to use. But that's not how I do it. And this program does it. We're talking about engineers practicing in the healthcare environment. So this educational program is a master's program. It assumes that all the students in the program have completed a quality undergraduate education in engineering. So all of the basic engineering principles have been acquired by the students. And there are 10 courses that focus on clinical engineering related subjects, and we'll speak about those. They're at this point in time, they're all distance learning because probably 5 or 6 years ago, we made the decision to change the whole program into distance learning, and now we've completed that process, and it's been particularly valuable during the pandemic. So it's a 2-year program. Students must spend the whole 2 years in the educational program, and they're paid a stipend, clinical engineering, paid for the clinical engineering internship. And every student is involved in an internship at a major teaching hospital, in addition to being mentored and guided by the clinical engineers on the faculty and in the internship program. And every year there's about 12 to 15 funded internship positions available. So this is just a picture of a class from 3 or 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago maybe. And as you can see, the majority of the students are women. About 10 or 12 years ago, the percentages shifted from men to women and have been increasing ever since. So it's, it is what it is. It's really a great thing. So let's talk, there are really 3 components to the educational program: the internship, the course curriculum, and the mentoring. So let's talk about the internship first. So the students are working under the guidance of a clinical engineer. They're required to do clinical engineering activities in the internship, planning projects, installation of new equipment, managing the process, committee assignments, technology management, pretty much everything a clinical engineer does. And some of the defined time, however, is spent observing clinicians using technology on patients. And we call this clinical rotations, but it can only really be accomplished in the hospital. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as a course. So the hospitals that participate, this is a list of almost all of them. You can see they're all over the country. The program started in the Northeast United States and has grown to expand across the country. So we now have hospitals in Texas and California and Pennsylvania, and it's continuing to grow. So let's now talk about the curriculum. The curriculum was designed around the clinical engineering body of knowledge. And that's sort of defined by this survey that ACCE puts out every 2 or 3 years and collects data about what clinical engineers are doing today in their jobs. And that, and it gives a certain percentage of technology management or risk management or financial activities or personnel management. And And based on those percentages, we massage the curriculum to match it. And in the curriculum, the way we also design the curriculum is based on the needs of the clinical engineering hospital directors who are running in the internship part. So the hospitals that participate in the internship, the CE directors also participate, and so does the clinical engineering program director, and we use the CCE exam. And it's designed to yield a fully functional and experienced clinical engineer, pretty much ready to take the CCE exam, but that's a separate issue. So let's now talk about the clinical engineering courses. So there are 10 courses altogether. Clinical engineering fundamentals, which talks about how to run a department. Engineering problems in the hospital, which talks about all the utility systems inside the hospital which feed the environment of care and medical devices. There's a course in human error and medical device accidents, which talks about risk management and how to investigate an accident, the role of the FDA, the role of the manufacturer in reducing risk, and some high-risk technologies in the hospital. We also talk about, there's a course called medical instrumentation, which is all the high-end equipment, CT, MR, MRI, nuclear medicine, linear accelerators. Clinical systems engineering talks about interoperability and interconnectivity of medical devices, and medical device cybersecurity talks about the risks, cybersecurity risks to medical devices and how to prevent them. Also includes general engineering courses such as project management, and then the clinical rotations that we talked about are also included. So just to describe a few of these courses briefly, clinical engineering fundamentals talks about managing in the hospital, technology management, equipment management, information management, managing maintenance, managing safety, managing finances. A human error in medical device accidents is a course that talks about what is human error and how do we define it, what's human factors engineering, what's the role of the FDA in medical devices, what's a root cause analysis or failure modes and effects analysis. What is patient safety and what's the history of the movement? What are some accident investigation techniques? A little bit about the legal system and some high-risk technologies. Clinical systems engineering is a newer course that speaks about medical device networks, interconnectivity, interoperability, passing data back and forth to the medical record, just general networking and data transfer formats. So in this educational program, as we've talked about, there are three main areas that the student experiences. First is the internship. They're required to complete 2 years of internship in a hospital. They take these clinical engineering courses and they get mentored and guided by experienced clinical engineers. So the result is actually quite good. The students who come out are strong and have a good reputation. And the results are 175 students have graduated in the past 20 years. Most work in clinical engineering departments in the healthcare system somewhere, and I was going to say the United States, but these students are all around the world. Some advance to hospital administration or technology management positions elsewhere in the healthcare system, like for instance, radiology or telemedicine. Some work for third-party independent service organizations that manage clinical engineering and healthcare technology management activities. Some work for medical equipment manufacturing companies in technology support, product development, human factors, manufacturing support, even sales and sales support. And 3 have become nurses. They left the field. One became a physician and one is an engineering professor. So we have, I guess the point is most are in the healthcare system as clinical engineers. So that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, please email me, or if you're interested in the program or would like to learn more about it, please let me know. Thank you.